What's going on, guys? Thanks for checking out today's video. I got my good buddy Mike here. We've been fishing together for a long time, learned a lot, fished a lot of places together, and we've been trying hard to get on a video together, and we're finally doing it, so I'm excited about that. Today we're going to talk about a few simple tactics that'll help you catch more redfish in cold, clear water. We've got a few soft plastics here, a few different ways to rig them, and then we've got two hard baits that all work really well for both me and Michael when fishing these shallow, clear, cold water redfish. They can get real spooky. Some days they'll be real fired up, but other days they'll be real spooky, and if they're not spooky, they'll be real tough just to get them to bite. You know, feeding is not on their minds every day like it is in the summer. So hopefully these little tricks will help you catch more. I'm gonna let Mike kind of dive into the soft plastics here, and then I'm gonna cover the hard baits. So I'll let you get going with it.
What's up, guys? So first thing I want to start out with is the swim and trout trick. Love Z-Man products. They're absolutely awesome. Colors are great, and as you know with Z-Man, the biggest thing is they float. So I love rigging these with Redfish eye or with the Texas eye, being able to just slow roll it and really let that paddle tail work. With wintertime redfish, a lot of times when they're schooled up, these like smaller baits, smaller profile, but have a lot of movement and a lot of ability to move around, they're awesome. The fish really like them, they key in on them, and they do good with it. Another thing with the Texas eye that I really like is the Swimmer Z, or the Swimmers by Z-Man. And the reason I really like these is this hollow belly. You don't see this on a lot of the saltwater soft plastics, but that to me is key. And the reason why is a lot of times during the winter, I'm gonna be fishing scent. Scent is just a great way to add one more thing to that fish's senses to get them to come up and pick up a bait and eat it. So either this rigged with just a little bit of weight just to get it to sink on like a weedless hook to where you get it right in that suspending zone in front of the fish. You know, they're only in a couple feet of water at most. I mean, a lot of times you're targeting 18 inches of water. You don't want it on the bottom completely. You want it somewhere up here in their face where when they swim by, they're able to see it. So having that little pocket in there where you can add some scent is awesome for them. The last way that I really like to catch them with the soft plastics is the jerk shrimps by Z-Man. And one thing that me and Joe were talking about is just like the small appendages. A lot of the bass guys, they know this. When they're flipping and pitching, they're throwing, you know, beavers and crawls and all kinds of stuff that have a lot of little things coming off of them. Those little movements, those fish pick up on it a lot, especially during the winter. You don't want to be making, you know, giant rod twitches and stuff like a bait that you got rigged weedless, and you don't want to be burning it really fast like you do kind of in the summer to get that reaction bite. So something that's small, it's got a lot of appendages, a lot of movement, is a great way to be able to cast it in front of that school, let the fish kind of work to it, and big thing, working those angles, trying to figure out where the fish are moving to where you're not casting into them and spooking them. You know, get it out in front of them, let them come to it, and just be able to work that rod tip really slow. And you know, having the scent either in the Swimmer Z or the Shrimp Z rigged on the Texas eye. This is something that Judd kind of discovered and told me about that I didn't even know. When he was doing some underwater footage of the Texas eye, when that shrimp floats up, there's that little bit of play that you get in between the hook and the eye, that lead head, and just that little twitch, they can hear that noise, and it just sounds like a little shrimp popping along, moving around, doing its own little thing down there, and that can be enough to just react or trigger that bite, a reaction bite for them. So a great technique, a great way to be able to rig a shrimp differently than just on your normal standard jig head. I think it's just a great way to get a bite. The other thing that I will throw in just a little bit with conservation and stuff, I love the redfish eye. It's what I fish all the time, but a lot of times you're fishing these paddle tails on the redfish eye, that hook's a lot longer. A lot of times I will rig it on a trout eye jig head, move that hook up a little bit. When you're fishing it that slow and they pick it up, if they're swimming towards you and you don't know it right away, they're able to get it farther down in their throat. So having something that's a little smaller, that trout eye too, that's a little shorter shank, you're able to keep it up in their face a little more, up in the mouth, instead of getting it down their throat or into their gills. And with that, you're also getting a lot more movement out of that bait. So that hook shank is only going, you know, to here instead of way back here into the soft plastic. So you're getting a lot more room for that bait to work as you're reeling it in either on a slow roll or just barely twitching it as it's coming back. So
for sure. And one thing that I wanted to just touch on again, like Mike was talking about, fishing these floating style shrimp from Z-Man, and also you can jump into a lot of the freshwater baits, a lot of the crawfish patterns and stuff like that have these little appendages that move. And what I'll do is when I get that bait out in front of a school, I'll let it sit on the bottom until they get into that zone and let the first couple fish pass the bait, and then I'll just kind of drag it and shake it a little bit. And so this bait on a Texas eye is literally head down like this and just kind of wiggling, moving a couple inches, wiggling, and these little arms are just moving around a little bit like this. And so these minor movements get these fish keyed on this bait without having to make any big movements. Because if you've ever fished schools in clear water before, if you spook one fish, the whole school spooks. And so then you got to let them reset and settle in. And one, for yourself, it's nice to not spook the fish so you can catch more, but also it's just better for those fish long term. They're gonna feed more and be more comfortable and active in the area that they're hanging out in if you don't spook them a bunch. And so fishing these shrimp and just getting those little tiny movements is a great tactic in those times when you're not getting super aggressive bites. So moving on to these hard baits, I've just got two here. I'm going to touch on them really quickly. Hard baits for redfish in the winter. I mean, people catch them on them, but I wouldn't say it's people's first bait they're going to grab out of their box to target fish. But for me, I use them a lot when these schools are in deeper water, slightly deeper water, and in clear water and not eating well. The reason being is having a bait that'll just kind of hang out in that level of the water column that they're in. You can get little quick twitches, but not move the bait too far. Again, it's just keeping that bait in the strike zone. So one of the two baits that I really like using is the Ozuri 3DS minnow. It's small, it's just under 3 inches long, and it suspends. It actually ascends slightly. It's gonna sit on the surface, and as you twitch it, it'll go down, and it'll sit in that water level for a little bit, but it'll start to climb back up. So those little twitches, and then let it kind of lift up a little bit, twitch, 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 lift up. And what I really like to do is let this bait, get it down below where that school is as they're about to pass through, and then let it kind of float up in their face and twitch, twitch, and kind of let it dive down a little bit again. And those fish typically like to eat it when I'm doing that. The mirror lure, this MR17, it's gonna slowly sink the whole time I'm not moving it. And so you can throw it out there way past the fish and just slide it in just with a steady reel to where you want it, let it start sinking, and then just little twitches. When I'm trout fishing, sometimes I get pretty aggressive, quick pops. But with the redfish, all you got to do is just barely move it. Sometimes I'll just barely keep tapping my rod tip, tick, 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 or I'll pop, pop, and let it sit. And those fish really like it. I was fishing some redfish that were on a dock the other day, and the MR17 really worked well. Better than soft plastics with any scent on them. And also, we even had some octopus. So we were sitting on a flat and looking for some redfish, couldn't see him. I looked to my left, I was like, oh, that's not a redfish. And it was an octopus in like a foot of water swimming by, and we snagged it. Yeah, it was crazy. We snagged it, and I was like, y'all should try this, y'all should keep it and eat it. And the guy was all about it. So we threw that octopus in the live well. We got on some docks where there were some redfish, cut some of the octopus up, and tried to fish the octopus for redfish, which I haven't done inshore, but on the jetty, I've done pretty good actually fishing octopus for redfish. And so I knew they would eat it. But they weren't eating it, and then we started fishing some other baits a little later on and started picking them up on mirror lures. So that suspending bait can work really, really well for getting that fish fired up. They see it sitting there, and then twitch, twitch, and it just gets that bite.
Well, I was going to add, with the hard baits, a lot of times when you're throwing these and they're suspending, we're getting into cold weather. We're getting into that water that's got snodgrass and everything else on the bottom that we typically get in the winter, and it starts to flush out March once that water starts to warm up. So throwing something that's a jig head or Texas eye that's going to sit on the bottom, when you cast in front of that school of fish, you're only getting maybe 10 feet.
Yeah, the snodgrass gets bad.
Yeah, that you're effectively fishing before it's already got something on it. So something like a suspending bait, whether it's a soft plastic suspending bait that'll float when you got a rig weedless with a little bit of weight, or an actual hard bait that suspends, that's going to give you the option to cover more water effectively and keep it in front of those fish without getting stuff on it and spooking them potentially if you do get a big wad of snodgrass or whatever it is on it. Also, it's going to keep you from getting snagged if they're looking at fish that are sitting on oysters, and you're reeling a jig head through it and it gets caught on something. What are you going to do to get it out? You've got to pop it loose.
Yeah.
And sometimes that'll spook the school or split the school, and you got to, like Judd said, have to wait until they reset, and you can go back in on them. So using that hard bait, it's definitely overlooked, but it is a good way to catch these fish and be effective.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. So guys, if y'all aren't using some of these baits, go pick them up at Intercoastal Angler here in town or any tackle shop where you're at. They're all very common baits. You'll find them at anywhere from Walmart to your very local tackle shop, and give them a try. Let us know how you do. If you have any questions or comments, just leave them here on YouTube, or you can head over to Instagram or Facebook and shoot me a message there. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And again, thanks for checking it out. We'll see y'all in the next video. Hopefully Mike will be in some more with me here soon.
Oh yeah.
Later.